Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Now, today we're going to have review first before we discuss about how to write an argument paragraph in analytical exposition text. Wow, it's been a week we haven't met one to another, and now it's time for you and me to get back to our discussions to learn how to write analytical exposition text. So I hope everybody here focuses on what we're going to discuss together. And first thing first, we have to learn how to write the thesis statement. Last meeting we learned about how to write a thesis statement. The thesis statement is located in the first paragraph, or what we call as opening paragraph. You have to remember every parts in analytical exposition text, and also the generic structure, the social functions, and also the language features of this text. Now, I want you to focus on me. We're going to talk about how to write an argument paragraph, some argument paragraphs to support your thesis statement, and last but not least, you have to learn how to write a concluding paragraph. Now, check it out. Writing arguments. What to write in argument paragraphs? Presenting arguments in analytical exposition text is as important as giving conflict plot in narrative text. The series of argument will strengthen the thesis stated before. So the thesis statement that you've already written down in the first paragraph or in the opening paragraph will be supported by some arguments. The arguments can be 1, 2, 3, or more than 3, but it should be supported with some reasons, evidence, proof, and also examples, logical examples that make you persuade the readers. A series of arguments to convince the audience. This part is significant to support about the thesis. Therefore, it needs some requirements. Things like you have to write what you don't have to write. Now, let's learn one by one what you have to write in arguments. First, a new paragraph is used for each argument. You have to keep in your mind that when you write the first argument paragraph, you have to start with a new paragraph. The second argument will be written down in the second new paragraph. Each new paragraph begins with a topic sentence. You may not write the supporting details directly, but you have to write your topic sentence. And each argument has its own topic sentence. This topic sentence, of course, it will be supported by some reasons, arguments, proofs or evidence, and examples to support what you've written down in the topic sentence. After topic sentence comes the detail to support the arguments. So when you write an argument paragraph, you don't only write a topic sentence in one full sentence, but you have to support with some other sentences. Probably one argument paragraph contains 3 until 5 sentences. Emotive words are used to persuade the audience into believing the author. It means that you try to persuade the readers that what you stated in your thesis statement is true. And it means that you have to say, I think, or I believe, or I personally think that, or I strongly believe, things like that. Now, let's have a look at the first thesis statement. For example, the first thesis statement is about corruption has happened for many years, and today it becomes a bad culture in Indonesia for 3 reasons. You still focus on me? Good. Now, based on the thesis statement you've already written down all about corruption, you have to support why you state that corruption is bad culture in Indonesia. And you mentioned that there are 3 reasons. It means that you will write 3 paragraphs. The first argument is most adult Indonesian or foreigners have known and admitted that corruption happens in many places. This first sentence is called as topic sentence. And this topic sentence should be supported by 2 until 3 supporting details. For example, in the first topic sentence, you may say, most adult Indonesian or foreigners have known and admitted that corruption happens in many places. You support the data from daily newspaper, news program on TV or radio that really report corruption are done everywhere, almost in all departments or public services or of this country. Corruption happen in health, education, departments, and banks. So you mention in which area the corruption has happened. First, you have to mention the source you know that corruption has happened, and the second is you have to write down in which area or in which workplace the corruption has already occurred. Now, when we manage to get some document in public service offices, we usually need much money to pay. Manipulation happen everywhere. This is what we call as examples. So you have to support your first argument with reasons, evidence, and also the examples that you feel the corruption has happened in that area. Stay tuned with me. Now let's move on to the second argument. After you write down the first argument, things that you have to ponder is that the first argument is weaker than the second argument. The second argument is weaker than the third argument. It means that you have to write the first argument with the simple argument, supported with some details, and the second argument paragraph will be stronger argument, and the third or probably the fourth argument will be the strongest argument that you can write and to persuade the reader. Now, in the second argument, you can try to use stronger examples. For example, the actions to eliminate corruption are weak. The ever stronger culture seems not to come to an end when the responsible institution who have to reinforce the justice today commit corruption. This is the worst, that the institution that has to catch the corruptors, they themselves do corruption. It's so dilemmatic, it's so problematic for us that the institution that we give trust to them, they do the corruption. For example, corruptions happen in police department. Police, the people who catch the criminal, but they do themselves do the corruption, do the crimes. Now, courts where judges, public, prosecutors, lawyers make deals to the corruption, but they can be bribed by the suspects. The suspect can give them money, and finally the case is over. Now, finally, you can go directly to the examples. For example, all of us also heard in the end of 2004, Probo Sutejo reported that he had bribed the Supreme Court, or called Mahkamah Agung, which becomes the highest level where the justice can be obtained. Okay, so you can finally write down the examples at the end of each argument paragraph. Now, the third argument, you may come from different perspective, from different point of view. For example, the citizen themselves, Indonesian people. Indonesian people have no goodwill to fight against the corruption. Even from the smallest field, for example, in the community, in our neighborhood, when we try to make any proposal or when we try to make any budgeting plan, we can play with the budget. And of course, things like this can make us to do some corruption in the future. Now, they create a situation in which people have opportunities to do corruption. The citizen like to break the rules because they are not disciplined. For example, in the street when they drive a car or ride a motorcycle, they don't have the driving license or necessary document. Then they are caught by the local policeman. And of course, some of you have already got the experience. Me, myself, also have got the experience when I was driving my car or when I was riding my motorcycle. Finally, the police caught me because I didn't have my driving license, or probably I forgot to turn on the lamp, or probably I forgot to put on my helmet. And finally, win-win solution. You can write down on your last argument or in your third argument that the police can be bribed and every case can be closed. Win-win solution. It means that the corruption happens everywhere, to all of us, even to the policemen, to the judges, the prosecutor, and everything. If only the people were critical, disciplined, and obey the rules and willing to report any wrong behavior, this country will not be number one corrupting country in the world. This is your last argument. Strongest argument ever in your analytical exposition text. Now, let's go on to the second title, the importance of breakfast. When you try to first write, for example, the opening paragraph, you have to make sure yourself that breakfast is important for some reasons. Why breakfast is important? For example, you can concentrate on your materials, on your subject before going to the classroom. But if you don't have any breakfast yet, it means that you will feel so sleepy, hungry, and finally you cannot focus on what you're doing in the classroom. Now, this is the thesis statement. Why is breakfast important? Breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper.